Welcome everybody. This is the first lesson in New Headway Intermediate. Well done for learning English up to this point. I'm guessing it's been a struggle. I'm your teacher, Jamie. I come all the way from the UK, small country called Scotland, and a smaller city called Glasgow. Let's get into the lesson. So we shall start with some vocabulary. You see it on the board behind me. And then we'll move on into grammar and then eventually get onto the different parts of the actual book and answer the questions with you. So, number 1, lighthouse. Now, lighthouse is a fantastic example of a compound word. Now, you might have heard of compound words a while ago. Compound words are simply two words stuck together to make a brand new word. But generally, the two different words are quite good at describing the new compound word. So, for example, lighthouse. Obviously, light and house. So two separate words. If you know what a lighthouse is, well done, but it is a tower made by the sea and it helps ships find their way along the coast. And it's generally there to warn sailors of hidden rocks in the ocean so that they don't sink. And it's got a big light at the very top of the tower and it just spins constantly. It's a big warning. So that's lighthouse. All together. Say it with me. Lighthouse. Good. Well done. And again. Lighthouse. Much better. Much better. And one last time. Lighthouse. Very good. Very good. I have students in the classroom as well. I don't know if you can hear them, but they are saying it perfectly. Hopefully you are too at home. The next one, sailing. Have you heard of sailing? Yeah? Sailing is to do with a boat. It's a terribly drawn boat, I do apologize. But when you're in the water and this is Bob. Bob right now is in the water and he is sailing. So he's taken his boat in the water and he's moving along the ocean. That's sailing. And all together, say it with me, sailing. It was good. Remember, say. Yeah. Again, sailing. Much better, much better. And one last time, sailing. Very good, very good. Proud of you, well done. The last one in this column is equator. Have you heard of equator before? Yeah? So the equator is an invisible line around the Earth. So around the planet you're on. And basically, I will draw it for you over here. It's this big invisible line, and it's in the middle of the Earth. Now, Cambodia is quite near the equator. You can tell this because when you look straight up into the sky, you can see the moon and you can see the sun. And also, you can tell this when you walk outside, because it's absolutely roasting. And me being Scottish, I just turn pink. But Cambodians, they're very good at not sweating like crazy. Anyway, this is the equator, right in the center of the Earth. The hottest place on Earth. Okay? or the hottest area on Earth. The next one is spoken. So the stem word for spoken is spoke. But when you add the suffix en, it changes it to past tense. So it means that you spoke in the past. So if you are working and you speak to your boss about a situation at work, perhaps there's a new deal, and later on, maybe the next day, your colleague, someone that you work with, asks you, oh, did you speak to the boss about this situation? You would reply, yes, I have spoken to him, because it happened in the past, it happened yesterday. Okay? So, all together, spoken. Very good, very good. It's quite an easy word. And again, spoken. Much better, much better. And one last time, spoken. Great work, great work. Now I realise that I didn't ask you to repeat equator. So we'll take a little reverse back down to here. And all together, equator. Very good, very good. Again, equator. Awesome. One last time, equator. Very good, very good. Let's go over to here. Can anyone tell me what this word says? Vegetarian, exactly. So this word is vegetarian. And if you didn't know already, it's to do with a diet. So if someone is vegetarian, it means they do not eat meat. That's it. There's different types of diets, but we're only going to talk about vegetarian right now. So say it with me. Vegetarian. So you have to put your top teeth on your bottom lip to make the sound. Vegetarian. Much better. Well done. Well done. It is a very difficult word to say. Letter to say, the V sound. It's quite difficult for Khmer people, I've learned. Let's try that again. Vegetarian. Very good, very good. And one last time, just to hear it again, vegetarian. Awesome. Now, extinct. When I was young, my favourite thing to learn about was dinosaurs. But unfortunately, or fortunately, there's no dinosaurs here today. At least, not in the way they not in the way they used to be. Actually, a chicken is a current form of a dinosaur, of a velociraptor. Interesting little factoid there, but yeah, chicken. So, today's word is extinct. And the reason I put extinct on the board and the reason I'm talking about dinosaurs is because dinosaurs no longer exist. A big meteor came and killed them all. They're extinct. A bit like the dodo, the bird, the dodo bird. So altogether, extinct. Very good, yeah. First time, I think you nailed it. Let's try it again. Extinct. And again, one last time, extinct. Fantastic, fantastic, great work. All right, so now we're going to move on to the grammar. The grammar is a bit difficult today, but you've just moved into intermediate and it's time to step up a level. So let's get into that. All right, so as you can see on the board, this is the grammar section, and we are going to talk about auxiliary verbs. Now, what is an auxiliary verb? Well, I've written a quick little example on the right-hand side. Okay? It's meant to help the main verb, to give the person that you're speaking to or writing to a better understanding of what's going on. You might hear these being called like connecting words, things like that, but the official term is auxiliary verb. Now, we're going to start with am. Very simple. We're going to get a little bit more complicated later, but I am walking. So, you now have a better understanding, basic level, of how you would use one of these auxiliary verbs in a very simple sentence. Okay? You wouldn't just say, I walking. Doesn't make any sense. You have to use the auxiliary verb to make everything fit together cleanly and smoothly in a sentence. Therefore, I am walking. Next one. Where? This is a little bit more complicated. And when I say a little bit, it's a bit, you'll see. Okay, so the first one you've seen was present tense. The next one you see, what do you think that is? If I were to eat now, I might be unwell. Where is there to make it clear that it is future tense? Okay? The verb is obviously eat. Eat is a verb. Where is the auxiliary verb? And that explains that it is talking about the future. It's not talking about the present or the past. It's talking about if you were to eat in the future, you would feel unwell. Okay? Getting a wee bit more clear in your heads? Let's use another example. Let's go with shall. Actually, no, because shall, again, is future tense. Let's go with past tense. You've already seen was, your intermediate level. I expect you've seen was before. Sorry for the upward trend here. So, we're talking about the verb running, and we're talking about the auxiliary verb was. So was, past tense. Yeah? And running, verb. I was fast at running in high school. You're talking about a time in the past when you were fast at running, specifically in high school. And was explains that for you. So these are auxiliary verbs. Now, I've got a small list of them behind me, but there are more than that. You can have a look on Google and you can see some others. And perhaps you can write some sentences. You could pause the video just now, write some sentences using these auxiliary verbs, and you can get a better understanding of how they fit into sentences and why they make sense. Because it makes the sentence smooth, and it makes it clearer about why you're talking about that verb. Past, present, future tense. Okay, let's move on into the book. So, we've already thrown at you auxiliary verbs, quite difficult initially, but as you work your way through them, I'm sure you've now got a better understanding of what they are and how you can use them. The Intermediate New Headway book lets you in easy. Okay, it gives you the big grammar trouble, but after that, the rest of this will be quite simple for you. We're doing a quiz. It's quite fun. I love my quizzes. When we do a pub quiz back in the UK, it's great fun. So, question 1 is answer the questions in the one world quiz. Discuss your answers with a partner. So if you are with somebody right now, whether it be your mother, your father, brother, sister, friend, look at the quiz, which is on this side here. I'll hold this for you so you can see it clearer. Right here. And try and answer the questions yourself before we move on. Whoops. So I'm now going to start answering the questions. So what I recommend is you pause the video and you answer them yourself first before we move on. Okay? So, the first one, I already know that one. It's quite easy. But let's listen to it anyway.
Unit 1. Tape script 1.1. One world quiz. 1. In which country do men and women live the longest?
Women and men live longest in Japan. Women live on average 86 years and men 79. The average life expectancy in Japan is 81.25. In the USA, it's 77.8 and in Germany, 78.8.
2.
So you heard there first. The first one is Japan. Well done on choosing that one. I want you to discuss why you think it's Japan or why you thought it was the other countries. The reason for me, I think why it's Japan, is simply due to their diet. Think of their diet. It's rice, it's fish, it's quite simple. Okay, it doesn't get overcomplicated. Whereas other countries like Scotland, in Scotland we have a thing called a pizza crunch. Disgusting. But it's a fried pizza from last night. Okay? So if you didn't finish the pizza last night, in the morning you fry that with batter.
The average life expectancy in Japan is 81.25. In the USA, it's 77.8, and in Germany, 78.8.
Nice, but I think you'd hate
2.
it. And the reason I mention that is in Scotland, we don't really have that high a life expectancy. The main reason, I think, is the diet, clearly. We eat too many fried foods. Okay, so we move on to question 2. In which year did the world population reach 6 billion people?
In which year did the world population reach 6 billion?
The world population reached 6 billion in 1999. There are now over 6.8 billion people in the world.
3.
So you heard there, right now there's 6.8 billion people in the world. I don't think that's correct anymore. At the time this book came out, that was correct. But now I'm pretty sure it's closing in on 8, or it might already be over 8. So it's a lot of people. It's a lot of mouths to feed. So let's move on to question 3. And well done if you got that.
If you're standing on the equator, how many hours of daylight do you have?
If you are standing on the equator, you have 12 hours of daylight every day of the year. You also experience the fastest sunrise and sunset in the world, between 128 and 142 seconds, depending on the time of year.
So, You heard that there. If you're standing on the equator, near Cambodia, how many hours of daylight do you have? Is it A12, B16, or C24? Now, 24 seems a bit crazy, but there are places in the world which has daylight constantly for weeks on end. Generally, it's in, well, not generally, it is in the far, far north, near the Arctic Circle. Okay? And they have to live, work, sleep in constant daylight. You can imagine how depressed you would be trying to sleep during the day. Wouldn't be fun. So, number 3 is 12.
Four. Where does most of the world's oil come from?
Most of the world's oil comes from Saudi Arabia. It produces 10.9 million barrels per day. Russia produces 9.4 million, and Iran 4.3 million.
Which of these 7?
So, number 4 is Saudi Arabia. I don't imagine that's a big shock to you. Everyone knows that they have a crazy amount of oil wealth in their country. Yeah, Russia actually has a huge amount. They're not far behind Saudi Arabia. But yeah, Saudi Arabia have ridiculous amounts. So we're now on to number 5. Which of these 7 wonders of the world is still standing?
5. Which of these 7 wonders of the world is still standing?
Of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, only the pyramids of Egypt are still standing. The Colossus of Rhodes and the Lighthouse of Alexandria were destroyed by earthquakes hundreds of years ago.
So, question 5 is the pyramids of Egypt. In Egypt, they have the Great Pyramid. And they have a lot of problem with looters. Even during the Egyptian times, 2,000 years ago, they had issues with looters. So people, thieves, would come in and steal stuff from the pharaoh's burial ground, burial area, and then they would sell it on the black market. They would take gold, they would melt it down so that no one knew what it was, and then they would sell it and make money. So, little bit of factoid for you. But yeah, number 6 is, why didn't dinosaurs attack humans? Now, we've already discussed this in the vocabulary. Hopefully you remember what I said about that. But let's listen to it anyway, in case you have forgotten.
6. Why didn't dinosaurs attack humans?
Dinosaurs didn't attack humans because they became extinct 65 million years ago. Human beings didn't appear on Earth until 130,000 years ago.
So yeah, vocabulary word from earlier on, extinct. Quite an easy one, I think. Let's move on swiftly on to the next one.
7. Where was the Titanic sailing to when it sank?
The Titanic was sailing to New York from Southampton when it hit an iceberg on April the 14th, 1912.
8. How long has Elizabeth II been Queen of England?
Do apologise there, skipping ahead. Oh, that's a proper noun. My apologies. Yeah, so the Titanic, when it was sailing to New York, it was going up north past Greenland, and contrary to the name, Greenland isn't that green. It's very white and very icy. Hit a massive iceberg, sank. The movie Titanic tells a decent story. It's not all true, obviously. It's a movie, but it's well worth a watch. It's very good. So, number 8.
Elizabeth II has been Queen of England since 1952. She was on holiday in Kenya when her father, King George VI, died.
So, how long has Elizabeth II been Queen of England? The answer to that is 1952. So, she is, I think, now officially the longest-serving monarch of any country, which is quite impressive. Yeah, she's actually technically my queen because I come from the UK. So, yeah. Number 9.
9. How many people have won the Nobel Peace Prize since it started in 1901?
94 people have won the Nobel Peace Prize since it started in 1901. These include Nelson Mandela in 1993 and Mother Teresa in 1979.
Okay, so number 9, how many people have won the Nobel Peace Prize since it started in 1901? The answer to that is 94. It did mention there 2 people that have won the Nobel Peace Prize. I would question why Mother Teresa has won the Nobel Peace Prize if you look closely at what she actually did. However, we will move on swiftly to number 10.
10. How long have people been using the internet?
People have been using the internet since 1969. It was invented by the US Department of Defense as a means of communication. It first went live in October 1969, with communications between the University of California and the Stanford Research Institute.
11.
So, how long have people been using the internet? Right now, you're using the internet to watch me. So it's very important. It's used for all sorts of things now. And a lot of people don't realize that it was invented by the US Department of Defense. Now, obviously, this was in 1969, so it was incredibly basic. Oh, I can't just write that. No. There we go, 1969. But it first became available to the public by Tim Berners-Lee. He was a British man that invented it for the people. So he had HTML, and right now, if you're interested in what he's doing, he runs a thing called W3 Schools. And W3 Schools is a fantastic way for you to start learning to code websites. And yeah.
11. How many languages are spoken in Switzerland?
4 languages are spoken in Switzerland: German, French, Italian and Romansh. German is the most widely spoken.
Okay, so number 11, how many languages are spoken in Switzerland? The answer to that is 4. I don't really know much about Switzerland other than it's a tax haven, but yeah, I was there briefly for a day.
63.7% speak German, 19.2% French, 7.6% Italian and 0.6% Romansh.
12. In which country were women first given the vote?
New Zealand was the first country in the world to give women the vote in 1893.
So, in which country were women first given the vote? And it was New Zealand is the answer. Two fun facts about New Zealand. There is a subreddit dedicated to finding maps that do not include New Zealand. Apparently, it's one of those forgotten countries. When people put up maps around the world, perhaps you'll see it in a cafe, look for New Zealand on that. It's probably missing. So the people of New Zealand travel around the world and find these things, and they post it on this subreddit. It's quite fun. But relating to the question that was asked, New Zealand wasn't actually officially recognised as its own nation when they decided to give women the vote. However, obviously now they are, so it's recognised. All right, well, that was the One World quiz. What I want you to do now is move on to the other page here, and where it says practice, correct the information in the sentences. So the first one's done for us. The Pope lives in Madrid. He doesn't live in Madrid. He lives in Rome. And the second one, Shakespeare didn't write poems. Well, obviously he did. So the answer to that is, you're wrong. He wrote hundreds of poems. So this is testing your general knowledge. It's saying something that is incorrect, and then you have to correct that with your own brain. Okay? So we'll go through that piece by piece. But first, I need to get rid of this on the board.